I love watches. They add character to my outfits, they tell you the time. That's very obvious. They can be great conversation starters. And I've been on the smartwatch train since 2016 and my first one was the Sony Smartwatch 3. I bet you had no idea Sony made smartwatches. It was fine. It told me the time, it showed me notifications, I could track my steps, I could play games on my wrist. What a weird use case. Oh, and I completely forgot about this part. This watch charged with a micro USB cable. And because of that, I tinkered a lot with this watch in my early days. But this watch is trash. It doesn't have a heart rate sensor. The software is very mid. This watch came out in the early days of a smartwatch. And well, it stopped getting software updates by the time I got it. And by 2020, it just told the time. When I used to wear this, a lot of people thought this was an Apple Watch. In what way does this look like an Apple Watch? Anyways, this went back to the bunker and I got a Galaxy Watch Active 2. For some reason, I don't have the straps. And the watch doesn't work anymore. So for the rest of this video, I'm going to be filling in parts from my older videos or some other creators. I've got no other choice. This watch was a big upgrade over the Sony Smartwatch 3. It accurately tracked my steps. I could track my heart rate, play music from Spotify. It was just way better at doing smartwatch things than that fake Apple Watch. I got this watch in 2020 and at that time I had the OnePlus 8, but the moment I switched to an iPhone, this became a dumb watch. I wasn't getting calls or notifications properly, I could barely use the apps, I couldn't track my workouts or sleep properly. Around that time, the display started freaking out, the battery started wearing out, and it stopped working for some reason. I wanted to get the Galaxy Watch 4, but it doesn't work with the iPhone. So I switched to an Apple Watch and I finally understood why a lot of people called it the best smartwatch. It was just miles better than both those watches. Everything just worked. The ecosystem features were perfect. Everything just felt like a cohesive experience. And here are 6 things I love about the Apple Watch. I can control my iPhone's camera with it. This was very useful when I used my iPhone to record my videos. Tracking my workouts, that's literally what a smartwatch is for. But it shows every kind of metric like zones, running power, cadence, etc. I've learned a lot about my own workouts thanks to the Apple Watch. When I go for a run, I have my whole Apple Music library here and AirPods work seamlessly as well. And since this has cellular, I don't need to worry about downloading tracks. It's literally a mini iPod. I love how it auto-unlocks my Mac when I'm near it. Tracking my sleep, I find this pretty useful because I have trouble sleeping and the Apple Watch helped me improve my sleep with the useful stat. Now let me go back to sleep. Getting my calls and notifications, that's again literally what a smartwatch is for. But again, since this has cellular, I don't need to have my phone around every time with me. I can go out without my phone and still get calls. And a sub to this channel would be time well spent. No, but seriously, we're on the race to hit 100k subs by the end of this year, so make that happen. I know most of these points I talked about can be done with any smartwatch, but the Apple Watch did all of them reliably no matter what. But you may have noticed something. I'm not wearing it. In fact, I've not worn it in the last 6 months. It all started in the first year of using the Apple Watch. It started feeling like an extra device I need to worry about, charging it, taking good care of it, and also making sure everything still works properly. And even after taking good care of it, I somehow broke the screen not once, but twice. I've never broken a watch before. I ended up replacing the glass for very cheap, which was great. But as time went on, I started running out of use cases for the watch. In fact, I barely used it. Sure, I can still track my workouts if I wanted to, count my steps and track how long I slept and how I slept. But I eventually stopped using it for sleep tracking as well. I even went as far as for a week to not use the watch. And I felt no difference. My life seemed to be the same. And I started noticing the problems I had with the Apple Watch. My first problem is the way the Apple Watch handles notifications. The watch is supposed to reduce the amount of times you have to reach out for your phone. Well, in my case, I looked for my phone every single time I got a notification with the Apple Watch. The way the Apple Watch handles notifications is stupid. Except for iMessage, every other app gets treated badly. I can't see an image from WhatsApp, those quick replies are useless for the most part, and typing or drawing in my case was way slower than me just pulling out my phone and replying to the message. And it's not just that, I was getting buzzed by new notifications on and on, which is fine, it helps me to be on track of my things, but I get easily distracted, and with it being mediocre to handle those notifications, I just use my phone a lot more. And this could have been solved by using native apps on the Apple Watch. Just like the iPhone, it was supposed to get a bunch of third-party apps to improve the experience, but there's barely any useful apps on the Watch App Store. For example, my Outlook account is a passwordless account, and every time I need to log in, I need to verify with my phone, which if the Apple Watch had the Microsoft Authenticator app, could have made my life easier. But that constant bombardation of notifications doesn't stop there. Sure, I could use focus modes, but the moment I check time, I'm just constantly reminded of new notifications through this red dot, which is great if you don't want to miss notifications when you're in a focus focus mode. But the iPhone handles focus modes way better than the watch. Notifications you don't want to see are grouped into this hidden section, unlike the watch which keeps on showing you the missed notifications. And since I get easily distracted, I just pick up my phone and get into that cycle of using my phone on and on. And my second problem is the app situation. I've had this constant need of having my phone next to me because the Apple Watch doesn't have a lot of useful apps. The first party apps are great, but when it comes to third party apps, there are barely any. There were so many good apps when the Apple Watch launched. There was Twitter, Instagram, Uber, but those apps don't exist anymore. Many of these big devs just exited out of the Apple Watch App Store in the first few years. And there's a big reason to that. Most people in the end of the day are using the watch for three things: checking notifications, weather, and time. And I'm not gonna deny it, the Apple Watch does those things properly. But it would have been great if the apps you use on your phone are there on your Apple Watch. That could have saved a lot of time and you can be away from your phone worry-free. Don't get me wrong, there are some great apps on the Apple Watch. You can watch YouTube videos on it, track your flight with Flighty, but you'll have to specifically look for apps that work on the Apple Watch. For example, I use Google Authenticator for verification codes on my phone, but there is no Google Authenticator on the watch. So I'll have to shift everything to Authy just because it's there on the Apple Watch. But apps and notifications are not the only problem. There's a bigger one, and that's the battery life. The Apple Watch only lasts for 18 hours. So in my case, I'll wake up, charge the watch, and then go on with my day. This was fine in the beginning. It lasted me till the next day. But unlike the iPhone, the Apple Watch battery degrades quickly. I was down to 79% health in a year, and that started affecting my workflow. I charged it in the morning, then right before I sleep for sleep tracking, and it got worse. I would start out my morning with a charge, then the afternoon, and the night. I'm not even exaggerating. This was my literal routine when I was in college. And that's when I stopped wearing it for sleep tracking too, so that I can use it the next day with just one charge. This is a very common problem, especially with the Apple Watch. Unlike the Ultra or any other smartwatch, it just lasts a day, and it's been the same case ever since the launch. Replacing the battery costs a good penny, and that's where my next problem starts. These are just disposables in 2-3 years. A regular watch would last you 5 or 10 years. An Apple Watch's average lifespan is 3 years. And this is considering you take good care of it, and I'm not even talking about battery life. If you break the screen, it costs almost the same price as buying a new watch. Apple doesn't give you software updates for longer than 4 years for an Apple Watch. So you'll eventually give in and buy a new watch because you're not getting new features and your battery started wearing out. And this cycle continues on and on. And I'm personally annoyed a lot by this. An Apple Watch costs $399. Imagine if you dropped $700 on the stainless steel Apple Watch, or even worse, $10,000 on the first edition model back in 2015. That watch was literally a paperweight in less than 3 years. Let's take the iPhone 6s. That came out in 2015 and an average person could have used it till 2024 with no major issues apart from the battery life. And it gets worse with software. WatchOS 10 on my Apple Watch SE is a terrible experience. It just keeps on lagging. None of the features work properly, and now I won't even get WatchOS 11 because it's too slow. That $10,000 Apple Watch I talked about got worse in the first 1 year. I bet if you bought a Rolex, it would have gone up in value. Apple treats the Apple Watch just like the AirPods. But the AirPods are not that expensive as an Apple Watch can get. For most of the repairs with the Apple Watch, they just give you a new one. And that's not great for the environment. This is coming from a company who talks a lot about their environmental goals.
Mother Nature. Welcome to Apple.
Personally, a lot of these reasons push me from using the Apple Watch. And this is coming from someone who loves tech. I used to love smartwatches, but the cons outweigh the pros for me. But that's not the same situation for everyone. Don't get me wrong, the Apple Watch or any other smartwatch are great accessories for a lot of people. The Apple Watch saved one of my friends' life. I asked you guys on X and YouTube what do you think about a smartwatch, and a lot of you on X agreed that a smartwatch is great. But on YouTube it was a tie. I personally miss using the Apple Watch on a lot of instances. When I travel, it's a great companion to check my flight status. When I was in Singapore and Malaysia, I relied a lot on navigation, and it's great I don't need to pull out my phone for directions. I usually have my phone away from me when I work, and if I used my Apple Watch, I could have not missed calls or notifications. But I will give the Apple Watch a chance if Apple improves it in some meaningful ways, like improving the battery life to be a 2-day watch. What if the Apple Watch had Apple Intelligence, and Siri could be infinitely smarter than how it is now on the Apple Watch? This could easily easily kill that stupid AI product like the Humane AI Pin or the Rabbit R1. If the watch gets some useful apps like Uber, if the watch gets longer software support like the iPhone, and they make it easier to repair so it doesn't cost the same price as a new watch. Instead of adding those extra health sensors, which mind you they are great, those last few points can meaningfully improve a lot of people's life. I just want them to make a meaningful change to the Apple Watch. This year marks the 10th anniversary of the Apple Watch, and I'm hoping Apple improves the watch significantly. And if you want to see something interesting, check this video to see how I survived with a 9-year-old Android phone.